Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fadeaway Podcast. I'm Ben here with Hisham, and we're gonna get into this week's basketball. Starting off right away, we've got our finals matchup. Finally, Bucks Suns. Who would have thought?
It's crazy, man. I was a big Hawks fan. It's kind of sad for me to see my boy Ice Trey, go down the way he did. With injuries and stuff. But honestly, if I'm a Hawks fan, I'm optimistic. I mean, it's a great season. You weren't supposed to
Yeah,
get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but on the Bucks side, you've got to give credit where it's due. A lot of teams have been going down with injuries and stuff, and honestly, like seeing Giannis holding that Eastern Conference trophy, it looked like it meant something to him, and I'm happy for the guy. I'm happy for Middleton, Holiday. They've all been through a lot. They're kind of veterans in the league now, so it's good to see them finally get some accomplishment. And yeah, hopefully the Hawks keep their head held high, and we see a good Bucks Suns final series.
yeah, and I think another thing is like, as much as Adam Silver probably hates, is this is a good win for like the small market teams, right? Where it's like they've always had the issue of like keeping stars. Everyone was kind of like hounding Giannis, like, why would you sign that extension with the Bucks? Like, they're not going anywhere. You can't attract free agents, and they prove that you can kind of build a championship level team through the draft and making really smart trades, getting players like PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday on your team, and kind of like pushing you over the edge, and not just through big free agent signings. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's fun to see. And I mean, I'm sure people love to see like the Nets or Lakers, whatever in it, but I feel like we had a good run of a lot of just huge market teams in the finals for a while. So seeing seeing the small guys kind of get in it is kind of nice, and especially Giannis. He's worked so hard on it, and he gets so much criticism, some of it rightfully so, but he's just like seems like such a good guy. Like, he has no like off court issues, and knowing his story of like coming from nothing, just seeing hard work pay off is always cool to see. So congrats to them.
Yeah, I think on the more games side of things, in terms of how this all went down, I think game five was the Brook Lopez game, and
Yes,
it was
finally,
honestly kind of it was honestly kind of
finally.
funny to watch, wasn't it? It was just
I've
like
been waiting forever for this game. People forget, right, that this guy was like a number one option on the
yep,
Nets.
yep,
He's their franchise leading scorer, and it pretty much just derailed at that point when he went to the Lakers and kind of got like just pushed off to the side. Like, he thought he was going to be like a top option there, and really just
yeah,
didn't get to kind of show out. And then comes to the Bucks, where he's like this in between and turns into just a stretch five all of a sudden, who doesn't stay in the paint. And then that game five was just like a vintage Brook Lopez. People forgot he had post moves. He could bang down low, and good, decent defense, like just using the big body to get blocks and get rebounds, and then just putting on the post, looking like Hakeem out there. Like,
oh,
it was
I
it
mean,
was really good to see. Great for Brook Lopez.
yeah, it was weird to see because, like, that one game where um obviously the Giannis got injured and the Hawks were playing really well without Trey, and they won the game and all that. But like after that, I felt like when the Bucks got used to not having Giannis, it was really open. Like the floor was really open, spread
Yeah.
out. Like Drew Holiday looked so good without Giannis on the floor. And I don't know if
Yeah.
there's something to take from that in terms of like, can we play like a Holiday lineup when Giannis rests, stuff like that? Because he was like the reason Brook Lopez was so great in that game was because Holiday was finding him for easy dunks every
Yeah.
time. And he was obviously Lopez was running hard, and I appreciate it. And he hit a couple threes, and it was great. But Holiday had like 13 assists that game, and even in game six, a couple nights ago or last night, sorry, 11 for 23, 27 points, 9 assists, 9 boards. I mean, Drew Holiday, like we were kind of like hating on him like a few weeks ago because he wasn't performing up to what we expected, right? And I feel like they might have unlocked something with that. Middleton is still up and down, and man, like,
Except that third quarter last night, he looked like
oh,
Kobe out there.
whew,
Could not miss.
it's just like I don't know what to do with this guy. One night he's like Kawhi Leonard, and the next night he's like the bad playoff P. And
He
it's
is
just like, oh,
one
there's
of the
there's
most streaky players right now
yeah,
in the
yeah.
league. Like when he is on, he is unstoppable, and when he's off, you just don't want him to shoot the ball. Like,
Yeah, and I think the other thing is he's so like reliant on his jumper, and it looks nice, and he has a good jump shot, but like he's so reliant on like I don't see him drive enough to the basket. Like
no.
it's all mid range, it's all 3-pointers. Like it's just like if you're not hitting them, just drive, get fouled, hit some free throws, like do something. But I don't want to hate on the Bucks too much. They won the series.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Milwaukee. Milwaukee looked lit last night when when the team got home. It looked
Yeah.
crazy. Like I think it would have been a fun atmosphere to be a part of. I really want to like Bobby Portis for me has been
Ooh.
the biggest revelation. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought also that a Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis front court would get you to the championship? Like,
Oh wow.
I don't know if that's Coach Bud just stumbling onto greatness or getting in, or actually he's a genius and we just haven't been able to comprehend it all along. Like, the dude just plays hard. Like, he goes after every loose ball. He's got those crazy eyes barreling down at you. And I mean, he was like a good play. Like, I think people forgot, like, he was in college, he was great. He had those Bulls seasons where he was good, but then he punched Mirotic for some reason. And after that, he became a little bit of like a joke almost around the league. But like,
Yeah.
he's a big body who can like has decent hands and can hold the ball well and just like he can drive. Like it's impressive and plays hard on defense. And he's a guy you want out there. Good to see him
Yeah.
getting some minutes and really making the most of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he went off in game 5, and then even in game 6, plus 11, he had 12 points, 9 boards. I feel like he doesn't take too many bad shots, and
Yeah.
he's like not scared of anything. So he's like running to the rim. He can spread the floor too. He'll shoot threes. He's a solid 3-point shooter. Like I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, in game 5, anything he was doing is hyping the crowd up. The crowd is chanting Bobby. I was like, what is going on here? It's not Kobe.
Instant crowd favorite.
Yeah, it's really good to see. Like, I like those stories where like they're talented guys, just the fit isn't for them, and they switch little scenery and they find that the grass is greener on the other side. And it's been really good for Bobby Portis. I'm happy for him, and to be playing this well in an Eastern Conference Finals game. I remember that he was upset when wasn't in like the 6th man of the year running. I remember he came out and he was like, "What do you mean? Like I've been playing really well all year. I didn't get any. I wasn't even in contention." So yeah, he's proving the haters wrong. I'm really happy for him. But yeah, the Bucks. They're headed to the finals. And what do you think about Giannis's injury and the timeline and all that?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see because this Bucks team seemed to have unlocked a bit of something with him being out, right? Like, because the issue kind of before was their offense was built around the fact that Giannis needed the paint to operate, right? Like, you couldn't keep Brook Lopez down low. You couldn't run a lineup that had like Giannis, Lopez, and Bobby Portis in it because it was just too congested. And by opening up that paint to like allow Drew Holiday to drive, allow Bobby Portis, and allow Brook Lopez to kind of work down low, it really kind of opened up their offense and a lot more good looks for like Middleton. And even guys like Connaughton and Bryn Forbes getting a lot of open looks. So I don't know. I mean, obviously Giannis comes back, you build your offense around him because he's your star. But there's definitely, I feel like hopefully they learn from some of these things that they've seen in these games where trying to mix and match your lineups and not just run the same lineup every time and see what works best for you. Because like I don't want Giannis out there taking threes. Like the paint will be his. And Brook Lopez has proved before that he can be just a spot up 3-point shooter, but you see that you can utilize his minutes a lot better as maybe like kind of staggering them with Giannis and running that Lopez Portis front court, like that'd be a lot for the Suns to handle. I don't think. I mean, you got Aiton. I don't even like these are. He did well, decent against Gobert, but having to deal with Portis and Brook Lopez, I don't know how they'd be able to deal with that because they run pretty small lineups besides Aiton. So yeah, I hopefully Bud learns. We'll see. I don't have too much faith in him, but I guess we'll see. And yeah, I don't know if we have any word right on whether Giannis or when he's going to be back. Right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything like set in stone. The good news was there's no structural damage. It's not like a torn anything or anything like that.
That looked
It was just
ugly.
it looked bad, and they're just calling it an extended knee.
Yeah.
So God knows what that means. But I think it said. I think I'd read something where they said that if the Hawks series had gone to Game 7, he would try to play. So it's good that he gets a couple days off. Hopefully, he can be good for Game 1. If not, I'm pretty optimistic he'll be back for Game 2 at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is, A, how healthy is he gonna be? Like, is he gonna be
Yeah.
100% Giannis? And B, the other thing I really would like to see from the Bucks is, I know Drew Holiday isn't like Rondo, like a pure point guard or something like that, but when he should be handling the ball like 70% of the time. Like Giannis should not be bringing the ball up every possession. I know
Yeah.
like sometimes they try to play fast and okay, like whoever's closest to the ball, fine. But like
Yep.
most of the time, if you're running like a proper offense, it should be through like the guy you got, like literally to run your offense. Like,
Yep.
I don't understand. And especially when now he's really blossoming, like past 3-4 games, he's been so good. So if he's finding his groove, like even and you're seeing like Middleton was still not really that good last night. I mean, what did he have? He was like 10 for 22. I mean, that's not fantastic. But
And he was
Holiday
like
was
10 for 10 in the third quarter.
yeah, exactly. So it's just like as long as you have Holiday sort of orchestrating your offense, Middleton maybe gets some open looks, Giannis rolling to the rim. You're gonna have to figure out what to do with Lopez. Still, I'm not super convinced that if Giannis comes back, this just becomes perfect again because I feel like the Suns are a really smart team, but we'll get into that later. Um, but yeah, obviously you want Giannis back. He's two-time MVP. He's a superstar, one of the best players we have. But
You got to
yeah,
worry
I
about
think
his
they're
long-term health too. I think like
long-term
he's
health and Bud's got to make some adjustments, and
yeah.
I think he will because I think they've seen enough, hopefully, for him to do that. But yeah, I just wanted to get your take on Bud because I know injuries are a thing, and of course, like the Bucks haven't had the most difficult path to the finals. I don't want to throw any shade, and I'm happy they got there. And obviously, every team gets unlucky, and Giannis is also injured, so we can't say anything. But they are in the NBA Finals now, and Coach Bud has taken them there. So, what's your view on Bud? And yeah, what do you think his future holds?
I think so. I mean, from I've said this before,
As a Bud fan, obviously.
and still from my perspective, like obviously he's made a lot of bad decisions, and I think my opinion is that regardless of whether they win a championship this year, that they should get a new coach. However, if he brings Milwaukee their first championship in I don't know, like 30 years, he is keeping that job. Milwaukee will kiss the ground he steps on if he is able to
Yep.
deliver them a championship, whether it's
Yep.
in spite of him or not. If he is the man coaching that team when they win, he's a god in Milwaukee for the rest of his days. So
Yep.
I mean, it could be a few years afterwards before they realize, like, you know what, maybe he's not the best coach for us, but he's still got another series to prove me wrong and see if he can make some adjustments. I mean, obviously he was forced to make adjustments, missing Giannis, but we'll see once he's back to full strength how well he can deal with the Suns, who've been really good at making adjustments throughout
Right.
this playoff. So
Right.
we'll see if he gets just thoroughly out coached in this, because I think the Bucks are clearly the more talented team. I think like on paper they should win this series, but if they don't, and it's due to like poor plays, poor coaching, poor like timeout management, stuff like that, then I think Bud's 100% gone.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Um, and on the Hawks side,
Yeah.
I just want to say,
Cam Reddish.
uh, Cam Reddish.
I just quick shout out to Cam Reddish, man. Out for like who for weeks and then comes into the playoffs versus the Bucks and just no fear whatsoever. He was bringing the only person really bringing energy last night, like hitting threes, playing tough defense. Like this guy's young. He's in his second year, third year at this point, and he's showing up without their star on their team. Like this Hawks team has got some real good players going forward. They missed DeAndre
Yeah,
Hunter. There's a lot of good players on that team.
yeah, it's funny because they got this far without their two best wing defenders, who were Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter, right?
Yeah.
And Reddish comes back and he looks really good. From the first shot. I remember in I think game 4 or 5, he looked back at the crowd and he said, "I'm back, like I'm back." He was like feeling it.
It's that
And he was really good
confidence.
last night. Really good last night. Nate McMillan said that he reminds him a lot of Paul George when he used to coach young Paul George in Indiana.
That's good praise.
So yeah, it's a good praise, good comp as well. I think that was his main comp when he was coming into the league
Yeah.
as well, Cam Reddish. Really smooth jumper, solid defender. But yeah, on the Hawks in general, I think great season. Trey Young obviously sort of blossomed into somewhat of a superstar in these playoffs. He was out of this world. Obviously, last night, I mean, it was hard to watch him. He struggled, but it wasn't really his fault coming back from an unfortunate injury, and he kind of tried to throw the kitchen sink at it, but didn't really work.
Yeah.
And I think they had a lot of small niggles here and there, which I feel like if those players were 100%, maybe would have been better. Like Bogdanovic had a knee injury, Capella with like a face injury. Like they're just little things going on where like I just felt a bit sad for them. Obviously, they have a lot of talent. I mean, even Gallo and stuff were huge in these
Yeah.
playoffs. It would be nice to see this team back next year, fully healthy, and to really see how good they are. But I'm really happy for them. Really good season. Like Hawks fans should be super optimistic, especially with all the young talent. Like if your young core of Hunter, Reddish, and Trey Young, and even Bogdanovich to some extent can continue
Collins.
to grow. Collins, of course, I forgot about Collins.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really good. If they can somehow keep those guys together for the next couple of years, 2 3 years, and see what happens. I mean, I think is only can only go up from here. So
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, and they seem to really take to McMillan well. Like
yeah,
there are a bunch of coaching
yeah.
issues.
Quick,
It seems like they got the right guy for the job. The only thing I would be worried is I hope that the Atlanta fans don't get their hopes too high because I mean I don't really see this team making Eastern Conference Finals next year. Like I still think they're a few years away from really being like a title contender, and this might have just been like that kind of flash in the pan. But it's always good to get these guys that kind of experience, right? Like to play in big games and understand what playoff basketball feels like. So you've got like guys like Herder and Reddish who are already showing that they can kind of show up when it matters most, and that only kind of will get better as they get more experience. So things are looking up for the Hawks. Good
yeah,
for
definitely.
good for
And
Atlanta.
yeah, and you mentioned it, you touched on it a little bit there, but really big shout out to Nate McMillan. I mean, the Hawks were struggling. Like they had put this whole
Yeah,
fancy roster together in the off season, and everyone was like, "Wow, Atlanta, maybe they could be like a 7 seed or something." And they come out and they're just horrible.
yeah,
Lloyd Pierce he just wasn't getting the guys to buy in, and it just wasn't working. They were running the same system as they always had, and people kind of had this impression of Trey Young as like a puts up empty stats, like he's on a big stats on a losing team and just not going to work. And they make the coaching change, and they had like the third best record in the NBA or something crazy like
they went
that
on
for
a
the playoffs.
tear. Yeah,
Yeah, they were amazing, and I think he really unlocked something in Trey Young, like the way he's using his body now, like just like getting guys behind him, like the Capella fit with Trey Young is like a match made in heaven, honestly. Like
yeah, it works
it's
really
so
well.
good. And I think just surrounding him with shooters like they've done, like it's a really young team. And so the fact that they made this for, yeah, you shouldn't get too in your head, Atlanta. Like, yeah, next year the East is going to be probably as strong, if not stronger, than it was this year. But but still Atlanta's also going to get stronger. So,
Yep.
it's good to be positive and amazing season regardless for the Hawks. So I think with that we can move on to the Western Conference where we have the
Yeah.
Phoenix Suns, the bright future Suns,
The
moving
bright
in
future Suns have
to the
have
NBA
arrived.
playoffs
Mr.
finals.
Empty Stats Devin Booker
Oh wow,
has made it to the NBA Finals.
amazing. They beat the Clippers in Game 6, and Chris Paul. Do you want to touch on this performance first? I think I'll let you go first.
Yeah, he was tired of not making the finals and said, "You know what? I'm just gonna do it myself this time. I'm not gonna let my team go whatever, like 5 of 30 from three
Oh
and
my
not
god.
make the finals." So
Yeah.
performance statement performance, 41 points out of Chris Paul, like still no turnovers, like a vintage Chris Paul game with a lot more scoring than we're used to seeing from him. But when other guys are cold, he's proven that he can still do it. I mean, it was a bit iffy when he first came back from his COVID thing, and we were like, Chris Paul's not looking so hot. He was having some bad
Mm-hmm.
games. I mean,
Yep.
still getting assists and kind of running the offense, but not really hitting shots, not getting to the rim at all. But that could also be the shoulder injury that he was dealing with too. But crazy, good for him to finally get there. I mean, definitely one of the best point guards I think we've ever got to like actually witness live. It's good to see him get there and in this fashion probably just feels even better. So after all those years, the Clippers and Rockets years, he finally did it with the Suns. Who would have thought?
It's crazy, right? It's like I remember I was watching his speech and stuff. Like Rachel Nichols was interviewing him after the game, and he was just so like he was really emotional about it, and it was actually really nice to see because most of the time these guys are like, yeah, one more round, like we're ready for the finals, whatever. But he was just like, yeah, man, honestly, it's been hard, like really hard. And then he pointed to his family and he was like, they've been there for me throughout the injuries and the bad times and whatever. And it was just nice to hear it. Like he was like really, really excited. He like went to Monty Williams and he was like, I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to be calm. And Monty Williams like, you don't need to be calm. Like we just made the finals. But in terms of the performance, oh man, like could we have asked for a more vintage 41 points, 8 assists, and 0 turnovers?
Yeah.
I mean, that is just
His
typical.
Mr.
Like,
Assist to turnover ratio.
oh yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see. And like, I remember the Clippers were on like a pretty big run, and it was like right out the Suns took a timeout, and they were like, oh man, like the game was down to like 7 after the Suns had like a massive lead, and Chris Paul just came out, hit like a dagger three, and after that just like went solo act. 16 for 24 from the field, 7 for 8 from three.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, it was everything you could have asked for. I think Devin Booker as well. Um, what do I say about Devin Booker? He's just been a bit off after the face injury, to
Yeah.
put it nicely. But I thought that this game 6, was his best. Like he was 10 for 26. He wasn't efficient, but it was his best, like most aggressive game that I've seen him play since the injury. Like wasn't scared of getting, taking the contact, getting to the rim,
Yeah.
getting fouled. And that's what you needed him to do, right? So as long as he was doing that, Aiden again, solid, 16 points, 17 boards. DeAndre Ayton's been amazing these whole playoffs. I think he's like a revelation, almost like a big three accidentally formed.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, I mean, I'm really happy for the Suns. Really happy for Monty Williams. It's been a journey. He's been through a lot of pain, with like his wife's passing and all that, taking a break from the game, coming back, and like getting Chris Paul, like his favorite student, I guess, or athlete, to come join him, and then finally making the finals. Like it's a lot for both of them to do it together. I think it's super special. And Devin Booker too. I mean, like you said, like the empty stats guy, right? He was like Trey Young, like looked at like
Yeah.
someone who can't do it on a team, can't even get his team to the playoffs. Like he just doesn't know how to win. he can score 70, but like he can't win a game. And like now you have like just it's crazy like what the leadership has done for for Booker and for Aiton and even like Bridges and all these young guys.
Yeah.
I do want to give a quick shout out to Jay Crowder because Jay Crowder back-to-back NBA Finals. It's the perfect glue guy in my opinion.
He really is, and it's crazy to think that like you're Chris Paul, you're Jay Crowder, you're watching these bubble Suns last year, and you're like, this team that was just a few years ago the worst team in the league is actually looking pretty good and going on a bit of a run. But do you think that the thought ever crossed their mind when they're like, I want to join this? These guys are creating something well, that they're going to go to the finals next year?
No
Like,
way.
obviously, you think you're buying into a good system. Maybe it's going to like take a little while to get put together. But in year one, just straight to the finals, like that just proves that how much kind of faith I guess these guys had. Like, obviously, Chris Paul isn't going to waste a year of his career that doesn't
Right.
have too many years left. But putting that much faith in a team that you only really saw play really well for like 7 games is a lot.
Yeah.
But and then you get a guy like Crowder to buy in, who's just been known to be on these like playoff teams. He does everything you want, and yeah, it's a nice story because it's again like one of these. It's not a huge market team. Like Suns aren't
No.
really known to. They're not signing big free agents usually, so to see like a career of a guy like Booker just not get like wasted and as like a outside the playoffs team is really nice because these are like transcendent players and not even if he doesn't win the ring now or ever, just making it to the finals at least is just like something you really want to see like a good player like him or even in Chris Paul just get the chance to do so. Really good for them. And moving on, just the Clippers. Is it too early to blow it up? Or
Kawhi Leonard's a free agent, isn't he?
yeah, I think he might be restricted. No, I think he's actually unrestricted.
I think he's unrestricted.
Yeah.
I know that the Clippers can pay him the most, and I know that Steve Ballmer has no problem whipping out his wallet.
He
But
also has no problem groping people. That was so weird.
Yeah, what was that? Oh my god, that was so
He
uncomfortable.
was just grabbing thighs, dude.
He gets so out of hand, like so unnecessary.
He's a maniac. If
Oh.
you're just going to a Clippers game, don't sit next to Steve Ballmer. If you do,
God.
wear a cup or something.
Oh man, that was weird. I mean, anyway, the audacity some of these people have. But anyway, off track. I think the Clippers. Is it too early to blow it up? It's a good question. I think the issue is that they've given up everything to build this squad, right? So unless you trade Paul George for something to keep Kawhi happy, that's basically all you can do, because if you lose Kawhi in free agency, your team is finished, essentially. So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think Kawhi is going to leave because they just got to the Western Conference Finals. Paul George, I want to say Paul George redeemed himself in my book.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve any more shit at this point for anything. Like this Clippers team built around Kawhi is their main guy, and being able to kind of will them to like 3 or 4 wins with, of course, the help of like Terrence Mann and Reggie Jackson, but being kind of the main guy on that team, they won more games than they had any business doing. So
exactly. But in the end, I think it's not a bad season for the Clippers, but I don't know, man. Like
they went back and forth. They were championship or bust. Then they were, it's a good season anyway. We're already happy with this. And then it's back to championship or bust. Like when you've got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, 2 of like the top 15 players in the league, 20 players in the league, maybe, like you're expected to make the finals, right? Like there's not too many teams with that much star power that don't make the finals.
Yeah, but what if Kawhi looks at this and he's like, damn, like my team was pretty good. Like I just got injured at the wrong time.
You think if Kawhi plays, they win this series?
I mean, they have a good chance. They won 2 games without their best player, who was arguably like a top 3, 4
Yeah.
player in the league, right? And the other thing is, the reason I don't see Kawhi leaving is because like he always had this like, oh, I want to go to LA, like my family,
He also just
California,
bought a
like
house, I think, too.
yeah, like where's he gonna go now? Like, is he gonna go team up with Luca? Like, I doubt it. Like,
No.
I mean, it would be pretty cool to see, not gonna lie, but like,
Yeah,
I
I just don't
don't
know what
think
you do
so.
if you're this Clippers team. I mean, you got pretty embarrassed last year. This year you went on a good run, and of course, like the injuries suck, but like it's tough. Like you can run it back again next year. You're probably not going to have all the same pieces. Reggie Jackson is like a newfound gold, but like I
But
don't know.
is
I
he gonna
mean,
be the same player next year? That's the thing,
exactly.
right?
Like it's hard to tell. And also, this team is mostly just made up of like scores. Like as good
Yeah,
as Reggie Jackson is, he's not like a playmaker type point guard. He's
yeah.
a
No,
scoring
no.
point guard. You don't have anyone who's gonna create for someone else.
Well, they
And
had Rondo, but
yeah, he didn't turn out too well.
yeah,
Not what he used to be. So
yeah.
I mean, there's definitely holes in this team, in this roster that need to be fixed, but without like too many assets to trade for anyone else, not a lot of cap space. It's hard to really make your team any better. So yeah, I guess you just run it back again next year and hope you get a bit luckier. But they were pretty healthy last year, and it didn't turn out well either. So
Yeah, I think they're just gonna run it back. I don't see any other scenario. Like unless Kawhi comes to the management, he's like, look, like just trade Paul George and get me like a scoring guard. If they could get like Paul George and something for like Dame, like imagine Dame
I
and
mean,
Kawhi and
Reggie
LA.
Jackson's probably got is the most valuable he is in his whole career right now. Like I'm sure there's
Yep.
plenty of teams that would want to have a Reggie Jackson on their team.
Yeah, but I think Reggie Jackson's a free agent.
Oh, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's gonna get
He
paid.
he was on a 1 year minimum. Imagine.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Crazy.
And then it sucks because you
So
feel like you kind of wasted like that performance is kind of wasted. He's gonna go get. You're not gonna be able to afford to
yeah.
keep him.
Yeah, you're not gonna keep
I
him.
think
I
Luke
doubt
Kennard actually might be a free agent as well,
it. Is he? I feel like he just got paid a lot though, didn't he?
or maybe restricted free agent. But I
Hmm.
mean, like when like DeMarcus Cousins is like getting it heavy minutes on your team, like there's
Yeah.
holes in your roster. Like
I also don't think Zubac is the answer at center. Oh, I
no.
guess they had Ibaka. We just forgot about Ibaka.
Yeah, more injuries, but he's also getting a bit older. I
Yeah.
mean,
But at least he's like a solid defender. He can stretch the
yeah, no, he
floor.
would have definitely helped in this
Yeah, he would
playoffs
have
for
helped.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, all right. So let's just talk quickly, preview this NBA Finals. So Bucks, Suns. First of all, what's your prediction and what are the keys to the series for both teams?
yeah. I think I want to say it's gonna go. I'm envisioning a 7 game series. Like, I think while the Bucks are I think a better team on paper, I think the Suns have really smart players, a really smart coach, and they'll be able to make adjustments. And you'll always have at least 1 or 2 games where Booker or Paul or Bridges just kind of go off and get you a win just through insane shooting stats. But I think this is going to be the hardest defensive challenge, not just challenge, but defensive matchup for the Suns. Like Booker has not had to deal with Drew Holiday draped over him. Like we saw what he was able to do to Trae Young,
Yeah.
and Booker, of course, is like a bigger, kind of more athletic guy. But man, Drew Holiday just is one of the toughest defenders in the league. Like it's going to be tough, especially if his kind of nose is still messed up and if he has to wear the mask and have to shoot looking at 3 baskets.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to take Bucks in 7. I think it also kind of hinge on how Giannis feels because I know that he's going to want to get in there no matter what. And
Yeah.
even if he's not 100%, and if he's not 100%, a guy who really relies on his athleticism, it's going to be tough because if he's not at like peak physical performance, I don't think he'll be able to perform that well. He's not going to be able to just kind of like do spot up jump shooting. That's not his game. So yeah, I think if Giannis is back for game one, I think the Bucks take this in 6 or 7. Um, I think they just got way too many people to deal with. Like they can try and go through Ayton again, but I mean, if you throw like a Bobby Portis and Brooke Lopez is still like a big body to throw on him, like it's going to be tough for him. If you get Drew and Middleton guarding like Chris Paul and Devin Booker, they're not going to be able to just shoot lights out. So I think the physicality and just like the talent that this Bucks teams has, I think it's going to take them. What about you?
I think I'm gonna go Suns in 6.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I don't disagree with a lot of what you said. I actually agree with a lot of what you said. I think the physicality is key. I agree with everything you said. I think the Bucks defense, the length, the defensive prowess, like just Middleton, Holiday, Giannis, I mean Brook Lopez, like they're all solid defenders. And PJ Tucker, of course, can't forget
Yeah.
the defensive
Yeah.
stopper. But yeah, I think the Suns. I agree with all of that. But the thing is that the Suns are also really smart defensively, in my opinion. So I think the Bucks, their problem's not defense, their problem is offense.
Mm-hmm.
And the Suns, like I mean Booker's okay, Chris Paul's a solid defender, Crowder, Bridges are solid defenders, Aiden's a good defender. So basically the only not great defender on the floor is Devin Booker. And as long as he can like hide a little bit on PJ Tucker or like I don't know, someone else, then I think that the Suns can slow it down because I know that tactically I feel like the Suns will have an advantage with Monty Williams. I feel like he'll plan better. Chris Paul's also like
Yeah, I'll
the
give you
point
that one.
guard. Yeah, and
I'll
Chris
give the
Paul's
tact.
like
I'll give the coaching advantage. Suns. Yeah, as surprising as that may sound.
and Chris Paul is obviously the point god, right? So like I feel like having that on the floor presence, like Chris Paul mentally, I think is greater than anyone on the Bucks. So tactically figuring things out like during the game, making in-game adjustments, even with Monty as well. I just feel like there's an edge there. And I think for me, the biggest test here is DeAndre Ayton a real solid center in the NBA? And this is where we find that out because it's like, yeah, you've played, a bunch of solid teams, but like, okay, Zubac a great center? Not really. Like, yeah, you played Gobert, but Gobert's not an attack the rim center. He's more like a
Yeah.
just, whatever he does. So I think it's
Stands
gonna
there.
stands there, block shots with long arms. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see what he does against Brook Lopez because especially he's gonna have to move a lot. Lopez will be around the 3, he'll be inside, he
Yeah.
cuts to the basket. So Aiden's gonna have to be mobile, right? Like, and I want to see how aggressive he is. I think he can be aggressive on offense, but I just want to see what he does. But yeah, I think for me the difference, the matchup I'm looking at is the shooting guard matchup because I feel like I know what Chris Paul is gonna give me, like 20 and 10 type ish numbers most games. I'm just trying to see if Booker is healthy enough, and if he looks okay, I think the Suns take it. I don't see him unless his nose is still like messed up after a few days of rest. I just don't see him shooting as poorly as he did. Like he wasn't shooting this poorly the last 3-4 games until the nose got broken. And obviously that's gonna mess people up. But I feel like he's more consistent than Middleton, even with a messed up nose.
Oh,
So
for sure.
like it's gonna be really interesting. I think the Crowder and Bridges are gonna play big roles because they're switchable defenders. You get Middleton. It can be on Middleton, can be on Holiday, can be on Giannis. I'm interested to see if they put Aiden on Giannis because Aiden's pretty mobile. I mean,
I
Lopez,
don't
you
know if
can
he
put
could keep
Lopez.
up with him.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because
And
I
it'd be
mean
dangerous
Bridges
because if
would be
he
too
fouls
small.
out,
Yeah.
like what do you have left? The thing I'm envisioning though is like if Giannis is playing and you've got like Brook Lopez sitting in a corner, needing to be guarded by Aiton, who's defending the rim if
No,
Giannis, Holiday get into the lane? Like they're just gonna get free layups. Like I don't think they have. I mean, like Crowder, I guess is their next line of defense. Like they don't have any other rim protection,
that's true.
and I don't think they've gone. Like if you think about the teams that they've played against, I don't think they've had like that much of a test. Like who would you say the best team they played against is? Would it be the Kawhi-less Clippers? Would it be the like? I mean, like they just expose so many other teams, and a lot of it of course has to do with injuries, and they got very fortunate that they really didn't have to deal with anything like as big as the Lakers did. Like not
Yeah,
having Anthony Davis is obviously huge. um Conley being out, I mean, Jazz were pretty close to full strength, and they just got exposed as they usually do in
yeah,
the playoffs.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like that came down to Gobert not being an offensive threat. That was
Right,
their issue.
right.
And then against the Clippers, seeing that like obviously no Kawhi, and then Zubac just not being able to like kind of hold his own really down low. I don't think there's too many exploitable people on this Bucks. Like if I'm the Suns, the only thing I see them really being able to do is they're just going to use Chris Paul to try and get switches onto Brook Lopez and try to
Yeah,
isolate him on the perimeter. And I think that'll work for a bit, but Brook Lopez is not, I mean, he's not fast. He's not a great, like, kind of on an island defender, but he can almost hold his own a bit. Like, his arms are the same size as Chris Paul. Like, he's going to have a hard
yeah,
time shooting
yeah,
over him. And if you switch and you get like mismatches with Aiton, he's going to be the one that has to do all the scoring then. And against guys like even PJ Tucker, like he gives real centers fits, just the
yeah,
physicality. And I don't think they've gone against that kind of physical. Like Zubac isn't. I mean, he was a bit, but nothing really crazy. And Gobert isn't. I mean, he's big, but he's not the most physical like player, and wasn't really
yeah.
given issues on offense. So I don't think there's too many exploitable players on this Bucks team. I don't think Bryn Forbes is going to get any time because I think he'll
No,
just get exposed if
I
he
was gonna
plays.
mention that. Yep. Bryn Forbes, I doubt he's gonna play because it's gonna get switched on every time. Same thing I was thinking about Campaign. How come Campaign was so successful in this Clippers series when he's basically like a better Bryn Forbes, I guess, at the moment. But like he's not getting targeted much, is he?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if that's just a coaching thing or
Hmm.
they do a good job on their like defensive kind of schemes, just being able to kind of hide him a bit. But
Yeah, because he was really good in the Clippers series. And I think it's going to be interesting to see because the Suns do play a decent amount of players. They don't just run out with their same five all the time. So I think it would be interesting to see what the bench unit does. Dario Saric, Campaign. Can they still bring it, or is it going to be, mostly Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Aiden,
yeah,
sort of pulling the load? And you're
definitely.
going to get your hot and cold nights from Crowder and Bridges, of course.
Hmm.
So that's obviously going to play into a lot of stuff. But yeah, I think it should be a good series. I think it'll be a competitive series regardless. Like I don't see one team sort of running
Yeah.
away with it.
No.
Um, but yeah, so I've got Suns in 6. You've got Bucks in 7. Should be a good NBA Finals. Game 1 is in Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I
I think
believe they
so.
have home
Yeah.
court.
So who have you got Game 1?
I think Suns at home, they've had a lot more rest. I'm gonna give it to them just starting out because you also don't know if Giannis will be available, and if he is
Yeah.
playing, he probably won't be 100%. So yeah, I'll give the Suns this first one, but as we've seen, home court doesn't seem to make as much of a difference this playoffs. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
just the injuries or still like COVID crowds or whatever. They're not used to it, but it hasn't seemed to play as much of an impact as it has in other years. So we'll see. It
Yeah, definitely.
should be interesting.
I've got Suns taking game 1 too, but let's see. I'm sure it'll be a competitive game. Looking forward to it and the rest of the series. And the playoffs are coming to an end, which is sad, but it's honestly been good month and a half or two of basketball. So let's hope that the last part is continues to be as good as the rest was.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And one fan base will be very happy finally getting a championship. We're ending a drought. It's always fun to see a drought end. So
Of course. Of course.
We've got some new blood in the finals, which is also fun. So we'll see. Should be interesting.
Sounds good. We'll speak to you next week.
All right. Catch you later.